Murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'ma put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, Berk. What's poppin', baby?
Oh, you know, we're just jumping in the time machine, heading back to 2019.
2019.
Apparently,
A lot of shit went on
some
in
things
2019.
never die.
I mean,
what I'm I feel like we're getting into this a little bit too soon, but as a precursor, we're going to discuss the new series that Veronica has been putting out on YouTube, God Mode.
okay.
And, you know, all of the details of her side of the Postle story. But that's a little too heavy for the intro, man. You know, I can't just jump into it.
You're right. What's poppin', Jesse?
Yeah, let's talk about why we're late.
Oh,
What's
hi,
popping,
Jesse.
Conrad? I wanted to start out by apologizing to everyone for for this podcast starting 15 minutes late. Apparently, coffees take 25 minutes plus to make. I didn't know that when I ordered it.
And now we're going to have to wait another 5 minutes for it to kick in.
Jesse, have you ever had a normal gig, like working in a restaurant?
What's that?
I said, have you ever had a normal gig, like working in a restaurant?
Yeah, during high school and college, I worked at this bistro for a number of years.
Okay, so you understand the struggle.
Yeah, but this isn't on the girl who made the coffee. This is on the place for staffing one person to make food, coffee, and take orders.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with...
And with Uber Eats and like all these other places, like it makes things a lot harder.
Sure.
Listen to fucking Guapo White Knight for the lady at the fucking coffee
it's not
shop.
about white
My
lady, man.
God.
I mean, I just don't
Jesus.
think...
I know what it's like. Sometimes you get understaffed and like you're running around.
You pour
and
the goddamn coffee.
It's not that easy.
You
Connor.
wanna-
It's easy to say from there, but it's not that easy.
I think
don't know what you're
that the
talking about.
owners / managers should optimize so that you can get a coffee when it's not busy in a place.
Optimized by,
pretty quickly.
you mean by opening before 11:30 in the afternoon?
They could do that as well. I've never seen a cafe that opens at noon, basically, except for this one.
Is
Place is great though. The coffee's really good.
is that coffee shop right across the way?
It's right
No,
there.
no. The one that is in the like plaza or whatever, on the corner of Rainbow. I used to go there with Nick Howard all the time. Man, I got a couple funny stories from this. So I can't remember the name of it. It was like a play on words.
It's on Rainbow and what?
Rainbow and whatever road we're on, Russell.
Does Nick Howard drink coffee?
Yeah, we both did at the time. I don't like it. It makes my stomach sour. But it was like, we were both in like year 3 of building our businesses, and it seemed like the right thing to do. You know, you go to coffee shops, you take meetings, you work on your email list and whatnot. So we would meet there like once or twice a week.
I understand that sentiment. The first time I got a truck, I took up smoking cigarettes for about 3 minutes. I'm not even. I wish I was joking.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
That's
You're 20 years old. You're like, I'll give it a go.
Oh,
That's
man, that's
funny.
incredible. Man, I wish I could remember the name of it because it was like a really witty name. It was
It might not be there anymore.
No, it sounds, I
I'm
don't
guessing
think-
it's not.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I'm
'cause
guessing
I
it's
would
not.
It's not
stop
showing up
that
on the
at
map.
some time in my life.
I feel like it was like a play on words with like coffee and maybe an apothecary shop. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you like walk in and they have a chessboard immediately when you sit down, and then they have this back area where you could kind of just chill.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Bro, we have one of those down the street from our house as well. Not the location you described.
Mhm.
And they've got like books everywhere, so it looks really cool and trendy.
Yeah.
And then there's this sign when you walk in that says, no loitering, this isn't a library.
Right.
And I was like, well, if it's not a library, maybe don't put books all over the place. Blows my mind.
And to be fair, they don't care about loitering. They just care whether or not you buy their product.
Yeah.
Like you're welcome to loiter as much as you want if you have a coffee in front of you. That's the point.
You would hope so.
That's a coffee shop, man.
Yeah.
You know, Friends has popularized this. Coincidentally, now that I think about it, that was the first place that I met MJ and Matt Boyd. They asked to meet with me. This must have been like 2017, like forever ago. And I brought Nick Howard along. They were pitching us on, at the time, like Theory was pretty new. And they had been working on what eventually became...
Hybrid?
Yeah, I couldn't remember. Their hybrid poker model. And they were like pitching us on partnering. But they were trying to do it. They weren't trying to become a training company at the time. They were trying to become like a stable for live poker. And they wanted to basically like template out this strategy that they had developed and then like unleash it on live cash. And I was just so out because I don't think that you can scale backing in live cash.
I was about to say that's your biggest problem, right? You can't scale beyond the people that you trust implicitly.
Yeah, and even if there's a large number of them that you can with pretty high degree of certainty expect not to fuck you, you now start to saturate the pool. So now you get into a situation where it's like, let's say you can get a dozen horses in action. It might be a situation where like you have two of them playing in any given game. And that now becomes, that starts to feel a little bit unethical to me in some regards. It also hurts your bottom line.
Wouldn't that be the idea if you were scaling with people that you can't 100% implicitly trust? Like,
to have them watch over each other?
Like, I would think that's, like, that
Kind
would
of.
be the way to scale in that
Not
sense.
really. I mean, they have more incentive to work together than to work against each other.
Yeah.
You know, and that becomes especially true if they're playing in the same games, which is something that like I don't think is very ethical. Like if they're like chopping action while they're in the same game or whatever.
No, of course.
Anyway,
It's sort of like employees all stealing a couple bucks when they do the register. It's like if they all
right
let each other slide, then they make money.
Yeah, exactly. And you just lose 10% on the margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it was all said and done, I was very fascinated by Matt Boyd. He struck me as a very, very intelligent individual. MJ, he's more of the door-to-door salesman type, you know, like just very, very cunning and witty and you know, has a certain sense of people skills, I would say. But Boyd is for sure like the brains behind all of the engineering and whatnot. So I guess I wasn't that surprised when it eventually became hybrid, which I don't even know if that still exists, but they might have just been like a little bit late to market, because if that idea existed in 2017, which was like before data lookup lookup databases and things like Wizard, etc., they could have, you know, they could have been Wizard. Just a little heavy in the foot. But anyway, the Nick Howard story, we had met there a bunch, and I'm sure that there are a lot of memorable times, but the one in particular, I'm sure he's going to kill me for saying this, but
maybe don't say it.
That's fine. He made me stick on action when he was fucking facing a button straddle. He can handle a story. So we're sitting there chatting, and it was right as we were launching the original vlogcast. So when Christian and I started, I guess, the first version of this podcast, like 2018, maybe 2019. I don't know. It was like two years we did it. And Nick would often come on as a guest or be a co-host whenever Christian was out of town. So we were talking about podcasting, and this girl was eavesdropping on us, and very attractive Hawaiian girl. I think she was Hawaiian. And she, you know, is clearly eavesdropping, and then eventually like butts in and says like, "Oh, I'm a pastry chef or something along those lines, and I'm starting my own podcast. Like, what is it you guys do?" And we start chatting, and within like 5 minutes, she goes, "Wait a second," talking to Nick. She's like, "Do you live such and such apartment building?" He goes, "Yeah, I did. We just moved out of there, myself and my girlfriend." She goes, "Oh my God, your girlfriend so and so?" And he goes, "Yeah." And she's like, "I was your neighbor. I could hear you guys having sex."
That's amazing.
I was dying,
fucking
man.
hilarious.
Absolutely dying.
That's great.
Oh man, it was such a top 10 interaction between two people.
That's just what a coffee fucking shop interaction, right?
And
there.
honestly, like he incidentally wingmaned for me. So like he's carrying on this conversation about, you know, being neighbors and her hearing, and like I don't know if it was her. I would assume it was her intent since we ended up going out afterwards. But like she turns the conversation like overtly sexual. Like she was like, yeah, I was just like so jealous sitting in my living room listening.
Wow.
But he left. He left shortly thereafter, and we started chatting for a bit. Ended up going out. It was a disaster. She was blacked out drunk on the first date.
Sounds amazing.
Just like, what the fuck is going? No, like I picked her up drunk.
Oh.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Oh, this sounds horrible.
That was like, we had made plans to go to dinner or whatever. She's like, can you pick me up? I'm like, sure. She gets to the car and she's just like already gone.
You gotta go.
I'm like,
you know what? I just got called to the game. I gotta go to work.
I am not hungry.
Yep.
It's the craziest thing. It's the craziest thing.
Something else is going on in life. I gotta go.
I'm not. Yeah, so we dated for 2 years. That didn't happen. I didn't date anybody for 2 years.
How did she say it was going
What do you mean?
when she heard Nick and his girlfriend? Did she give him a
very,
rating or what?
She was very explicit. She seemed quite horny. quite turned on over their escapades.
Let's go, Nick.
It was what a weird day, man.
That's fucking hilarious.
I really wish I could remember the name of this coffee shop. It's frustrating.
Something apothecary.
I don't know if that's true or not.
I think you're all right. It was right there on the corner across from where they built up the like all those new shop like Denny's and stuff like that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
No. It's the other side of the street. It's next to my buddy's gym, the HIIT gym.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was across the street from there. The other places. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I understand what you're talking about. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Bro, look at your two dogs right now.
They're the
I
best.
know. It's ridiculous.
It's
They're
a shame we
so
don't
cute.
just have a camera on them 24/7.
I was going to say, you really need a dog cam.
I mean,
Why does Guapa have a cam?
That's just it's just mean. Honestly, it's just mean.
to be fair, when we use Guapo's camera on them, it looks terrible because there's just no lighting. But the audience would prefer a pip cam, I'm sure.
For those at home, they're like cuddled up, sleeping together, but Bolt had his head rested on top of Pip's head.
Yeah.
He does that a lot.
Now they're just cheek to cheek.
Yeah. He's a real snuggler. Your dogs aren't like this?
No.
Snuggler is not the fucking word.
Harvey's not a big cuddler?
Harvey, no. Well, they used to cuddle a little bit, but Harvey likes to be against your leg with his hip so he knows where you are at all times.
Right.
But he's very claustrophobic, and if you like pull him in close, he's like, nah, this isn't my thing.
And the other one's Saki?
Yeah, she'll cuddle a little bit more, but they're very wolf-like creatures, the Shiba Inus, and they kind of are a little standalone-ish.
Okay.
Standoffish.
The most impressive things about these pups is like the second the countdown goes on,
They just know it's like, all right,
it's time
we're going to be
lay
left
down.
alone.
Yep. It's time to lay down on the bed and we just chill.
Oh, I think it's because people stop giving them attention.
I don't know.
That's why I didn't bring Saki, by the way. I was thinking about bringing Saki, but they would be she would fully have them moving around right now and barking at each other. She just loves instigating.
It's funny when we bring Scout, my third of 4 dogs, who is older. She's like 13 and wants nothing to do with these two. She'll lay over like by Lamanna's feet, but for whatever reason, that's just enough for them to just be like, it's fucking go time. Like there's another animal here, and we're gonna get after it. Shout out to Uncle Mitch, who put a Sesame Street version of of my shot, and I gotta tell, man, I sent it to you on Assets. It looks cleaner than the real thing.
It does look
This is
good.
incredible. I don't know. I assume some sort of GPT or
what AI is doing
this? Yeah, I don't know.
That's really
I wish this is what my shot looked like.
That's great.
I've
It's
seen a lot
so
of this
good.
lately on Twitter.
I
People
might-
are having fun with this format.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I tried to fuck around with it. I think it was the Ghibli studio that was going around for a long time. Like I think it's Japanese style anime. And I tried to fuck around with it on ChatGPT, but it just like wouldn't. It kept telling me it couldn't do the prompt that I was asking for. Like I would say, like, convert my profile picture to Ghibli style. And they're like, oh, we can't do a picture of you because of this reason or that. I was like, okay, then make it look like me. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell. Like, what prompt do I have to fucking give you? I don't get it.
That's very odd.
Because people seem like they were I saw somebody do, I think PokerGo did a Daniel Negreanu series where it was like 10 photos of him in the Ghibli style. It looked great. It's like, what the hell-
Ghibli style is what now?
I think it's like Japanese anime,
Okay.
if I recall.
They might have a few formats, and that's the one you widely see because
That was the one that was like super popular
Yeah.
for a few days. Yeah. I'm gonna
I
change
did
this
see that we had an
profile
asset yesterday, Matt, that we didn't talk about. Introducing
one?
the first AI influencer.
Oh, man.
This is kind of on the same.
Anybody who's like really good at social media, this has to be the hustle.
What's that?
Just taking this new AI program that allows you to like, it's basically like a video game where you can just like create your attributes, you can create environments, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And this is just an AI, like a not real person, obviously.
This is scary.
It's what, well, I mean, the thing is that the speech never matches up to the lips.
Yeah, that's going to be like
which-
3 months off or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
They
But it's
got
like-
doing squats. This is unreal.
Like you can just create your own. Like, why do it yourself? Why walk around filming yourself organically all the time? You could just create fucking Svetlana here, have her nipples poke through that tank top a little bit, and suddenly have 50,000 followers.
Or if you're like me and you feel like maybe you could do a decent job if you had a vlog, but you just don't have it in you to go and film poker hands and kind of disrupt the general flow of a poker table.
Yeah.
You could just make AI versions of the poker hands, but tell the actual poker hands that you played.
Not only that, you can show the other
That's
players
interesting.
now too. Like you can, instead of saying, because usually you don't show the other players at the table, right? Like now you can just make fictional characters like OMC1 or, young aggro kid or
That's actually not a bad idea.
That's sweet. I like that.
I would definitely be curious to see like people who are creatives that are sharp with this kind of stuff. Like how much can they execute now that these AI studios exist? I think Guapo was saying Premiere.
Yeah, they do. It's called Firefly. It's like $10 a month, and then like 30 for the fully,
And does that
bells and
include like?
whistles.
Does that? I know you were talking about like kind of background GFX and stuff like that, but does it include like if you want to create a character? Or,
We haven't started using it yet, but I would assume doing that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Because you can actually go to GROK, prompt it to make something, take that picture into Firefly and say, hey, Firefly, do this with this picture.
Yeah.
And I mean, it won't be perfect, but who knows what
It'll
the
make
next
a
3,
fully
4, 5
animated
years are going to look
character.
like.
That was what was frustrating about ChatGPT when we were doing we did like a scavenger hunt for one of the giveaways. I can't remember which one. But I needed very specific clues. So I would like kind of makeshift an image that represented the clues or whatever, but I wanted it to be cleaner and better and everything else. So I would run it through ChatGPT and say like, can you do this, that, and the other to the
Yeah, you got
to
to get
the
really
image?
good at prompts because it will screw up.
It was just it didn't even try.
Yeah.
It was like, it was like, can you make the Vegas skyline and emphasize the V in
The parentheses.
in Vegas or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the parentheses. Yeah, it was like, could you create the Vegas skyline in parentheses? And it just like couldn't understand these prompts.
I remember for a little while they had a really hard time with fingers. Like you
Yeah.
would make images and they'd
Oh,
have
yeah.
like they'd only have like 3 fingers or have 8 fingers or but the next couple of years are going to be wild.
I read a great idea online that was like, if you ever rob a bank, wear an extra prosthetic finger so that the evidence of the cameras get thrown out in court because they say that it's made by AI.
Sharp.
Wow,
That was that's next
Interesting.
level right there.
now you just went and ruined it. Oh man, Uncle Mitch is just coming hard. He threw up the Ghibli studio now. Which one of these am I going to make my profile pic? That's the question.
Ask him what program or what platform did he use for the first image?
I assume this is all ChatGPT, but it might be GROK. I didn't know GROK had its own website. Brian Lamanna was telling me this.
Yeah, it's there's an app.
I
too.
just thought, or its own app. I just
You
thought
it was
you
just
used
built
it
into the X
into Twitter.
platform.
Yeah. Because like when I try to use it on Twitter, it's not completely useless, but it's not very helpful.
It's nice when you comment on somebody's tweet.
and it'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah, like have it fact check it, or for instance, so yesterday after Trump dropped his tariffs, there was this tweet that I read where this guy basically pointed out that rather than actually show what the tariffs other countries were charging for U.S. imports were. What his team was doing was they were taking the difference in traded goods between the two countries, and then they were just dividing it by what goods they either export or import. I forget which one. Whatever. All this is to say, somebody basically was like, GROK, can you run the math on every single one of these countries and see if this guy's right?
Oh, wow.
And GROK just like did it and pointed out that if he was ever off, it was by like 1%. So there might be some other small factor going into what they're doing. But
that's
stuff like that's really cool, I think.
So I tried using it to analyze and optimize my Twitter algorithm. Not my algorithm, but my posting habits. I was like, can you run through my analytics and give me some pertinent feedback or whatever? Just couldn't do anything. I asked it like simple questions, like what was the most popular tweet I've ever made, and it couldn't tell me.
Really?
Yeah.
You were asking GROK this.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think part of the issue is you can't see you could just base it off of likes and stuff? I was gonna say you can't see the analytics before.
That's what it was like trying to do, was like reach for like likes and comments, and I said like no, just what was the most engaged tweet since analytics have been public or whatever. And it just like kept referring back to the same.
It possibly can't access engagement metrics without having access to your account, or can't give you that sort of information, like isn't allowed to.
It seems weird either way, because the engagement metrics are public. And
are they, or do you just see your own?
No, you can see everybody's. I'm staring at a random tweet with 235,000 views. But it just kept referring back and saying like, well, the airball period was the highest traffic time of your Twitter feed. It's like,
so it just didn't understand the question, basically.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it kept like supposing. It's like, I suppose that this tweet that it was the "it's over" tweet, the Vince Carter meme when I had ended the match. It just kept going back to that one. It kept saying,
was that actually your most liked? And
that was definitely
engaged?
Your best tweet.
I think it was like the third most engaged.
Forget GROK, just ask Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad.
That was definitely your best tweet. It's not even close.
He'll tell you the more important info.
I was happy that I thought of that in the moment and like wasn't planning it for like weeks ahead of time or whatever. It was just like a sheer reaction. Like when it happened, it was just like, yeah, this is VC right here. This is done. There's no words necessary.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to the topic at hand, I guess, which is, in my opinion, relatively unimportant and not super relevant. A lot's happened since 2019. But for whatever reason, Veronica has decided to drop this God Mode series on YouTube. And I will say I've watched all 4 episodes so far. As somebody who is like pretty heavily entrenched in the Postle stuff for the first 6 months or so that it was happening, there's a lot of finer details, I guess, and backstory to all of this that even I wasn't really aware of, or I'd forgotten, what have you. And to Veronica's credit, like the storytelling is really good. Have you guys watched it at all?
No.
Anyone? Bueller? No,
I wasn't aware of this.
You didn't even know. Okay, so that's another part of the conversation we can have here after. But so I watched it all. It's about, I think each one's about 15 minutes long. There's 4 episodes, but it's basically, from what I can tell, excerpts from a book that she wrote that either has yet to be published or has been published that none of us know about. But in any event,
you couldn't have just Googled whether or not it was published and saved her that.
You could have asked GROK.
Brutal sentence.
Well, the fact that I don't know, I think, is why the brutal sentence exists. But from the viewing standpoint of like, this being on YouTube or whatever, it's kind of interesting because, like I said, the storytelling is really great, but it's weird to view on YouTube, I guess, if that makes sense. Because it's not even animated. It's just it's like a picture book.
They're stills, yeah.
Yeah, so everything is just
like
done in stills.
Like you're reading a comic book.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of, but there's very few times that you're actually asked to read anything. You're kind of like listening. It's kind of like an Audible book with, pictures to look at along the same lines. Anyway, my point being is that it's not great for YouTube. Like it's just not like really a great YouTube product. I would be very engulfed in this. I think if it were a random podcast that were on Gimlet Media and somebody was like, God Mode series, the tale of how poker's biggest cheat got away with it. You know, I would tune into that. And like Veronica's voice is pretty soothing and she does a great job narrating everything. And it has that feel to it. Why allegedly?
Poker's biggest cheat, man. Come on. Trying to save you, buddy.
Okay. I don't give a fuck. He already sued me once. You didn't even.
The ostrich has spoken, Berkey. Is that an ostrich? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is?
No, it says allegedly and it's cool. I like it.
So anyway, I say all this to basically pose the question of like, you know, why now? What's going on in 2025 that this is resurfacing? And do you think that we're at a point where people just don't care? People are pretty tone deaf to this, or are the views and the viewership, I guess, like relatively low just because, like you said, you didn't even know it existed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the thing of the past. Like, I don't understand why anybody really be too interested in such things.
I would imagine, because my immediate reaction was like, oh, this is a bit late. I would imagine that there was some sort of legal ramifications in the past for her discussing certain details that now she can or something. But
maybe
that would be my best guess.
Yeah, that could potentially be true. Although I'm trying to think, like, legally, they got their she was able to win her suit, or I think she had an anti-slap filed against Postle, if I recall correctly. She and Todd Watellis both won that back in 2020, maybe 2021. That was I don't know if you recall, but Postle cashed a tournament in Louisiana,
Missouri, Mississippi,
Mississippi,
like
maybe a couple years ago. And because he lost this suit to both Veronica and Todd, they're able to
withhold,
technically garnish his wages. Yeah.
What was the suit?
They filed an anti-slap against him. He filed a defamation lawsuit against all of us and tried suing for like $300 million or some shit like that.
That's a lot of damages.
But he never went through with it. He never served anyone. But as a counter, in order to get ahead of it, some people filed an anti-slap lawsuit, I believe. That was what I was instructed to do, but we never got served. We basically held off until we got served, and we never got served, so we just didn't bother. But if you recall, Veronica was backed by Perkins, who was funding the legal action, and I think they went through with it. And I think they got a settlement, which resulted in Postle owing each of them some amount of legal fees, 20, 30,000, something along those lines.
Nice.
And because he's never paid, they can technically garnish his wages. So what happened with the Mississippi thing was, I believe, if I remember correctly, this was a few years ago, but Veronica had to like overnight get the statue extended into Mississippi. And I believe she's done it now in a bunch of other states, where if they weren't able to do anything with this final table that he had made this past time, but basically if ever he were to make another one, the casino couldn't lawfully pay him out. They would have to withhold and pay off his back debt first.
You know what you just reminded me about that whole ordeal that I had completely forgotten about?
What?
My favorite part of it was when his ex-wife got in the mix, and I think did a couple podcasts and gave some insight into their relationship. Could you imagine being, and I'm not saying it's not rightfully so, but could you imagine being a salty ex and just having the opportunity to go on a podcast and just trash this guy in front of audiences that already want to?
Right.
I mean, that's the dream right there. For an angry ex, like, that's insane. Like, these people are primed and ready to believe any damn thing you say.
I'm going to get some of the details wrong here because it's been a very long time, and I don't recall the details, but I do remember there being something going on with a custody battle between his ex, and their daughter. This is not alleged.
I'm so
Just
into
like,
this.
have fun.
Whatever
this
you call
happened.
stamp.
So there was some sort of custody battle going on during that time.
Well, I think she said he never paid alimony was one of the things she accused
Right, but I
him
think
of.
he ultimately got full custody of their daughter.
Oh.
If I'm not mistaken. And one of the conspiracies, now you can use the allegedly. One of the conspiracies that was being floated at the time was that his custody battle was aligned with him cheating as a means to basically pay for the representation in order to win custody of his daughter. It's an expensive process to go through it, you know what I mean? And the assumption was that like he didn't have a pot to piss in. So like right around when the cheating began, I think was overlapped to right around when he was fighting for his daughter's custody. Which I don't know what the long term, like maybe he still has custody of her, maybe he doesn't. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just going off of like what was the conspiracy theory at the time, which we're talking 6 years ago. Like who fucking knows? It's weird though. I think it's weird from Veronica's perspective to keep bringing it up because by all accounts, this is one time in the poker world that we got what we deserved. Like the guy was completely banished from the community. Him, JFK, they disappeared. Like
JFK?
JFK was the tournament director who, by all accounts, seemed to have had a hand in it.
Oh, okay.
And like just to rehash, I guess
We need that allegedly real bad right now.
to catch you up on the details of the timeline and everything. The way this all worked was, I want to say it was like late 2018. I mean, it was October 2019, or I guess like the last weekend in September. So like September 26th, maybe, whatever that weekend was in 2019, that myself, Marley, and Christian all went to the 25-50 game. And it was the final game that, you know, the straw that broke the camel's back. All the investigation stuff happened afterwards. Veronica came forward, a whistle blew. Bart Hansen, you know, jumped in and basically backed her up and said, like, you know, I've looked at the data. This is from there. The investigation opened.
Sorry to interrupt you. You guys played on Stones 25-50?
Yep.
Right before this happened? Was he in the game?
Yeah, it was the last game that he played.
How did he do?
He crushed. He folded top pair and an open ender versus Marley's top pair gut shot. It was like Queen Jack versus Queen 10 on like Queen 9
8-7
8-7 or 8-6 something like that. Wow. And he just like folds to a turn like half pot. He also called like a 3 or 4 bet pre with 5-4 off when both of his opponents had ace king, and then just like open jammed on like a low board.
Just playing great.
Yeah, just playing perfectly. There was a lot of very, very, very sketchy hands from that session that, you know, in the context of cheating make a lot of sense. In the context of dumb luck, it's hard to wrap your head around. But the lead up to all of this was like basically for an entire year prior to that, he had just been mashing what was supposed to be a 1-3 game. And, you know, people get hyper fixated on the fact that there were straddles, people were sitting deeper, it was a match to stack game, yada, yada, yada. And all of that's true, but, you know, that can't explain away astronomical win rates, right? Like, you can't be so good that you're the only winner in a game over a substantial sample. And you can't be so good that your win rate is higher than the actual rake itself when you're playing a game where like the rake is 2 big blinds.
Well, it's also objective to the people around you, right? Like if you're playing the softest game of all time, you'll obviously win a lot,
right.
But you still won't win as much as he did, but you'll win a lot. But he was playing as people that were relatively decent at poker and trying, you know what I mean? Like they were all like,
at a bare minimum, it was a mixed bag. At a bare minimum, you had people who were gambling, which should hike up the variance and not allow his win rate to be as high as it is. You're playing with people that are ultra conservative, which again, like now they're not putting enough money into the pot. That should harm win rate in some sort of capacity. Mm-hmm. But basically, like there was enough of an eclectic mix where like one person's strategy couldn't be uniform to the environment. You couldn't just say like, oh, I've built the perfect strategy for this specific game. It's like, well, that's not possible because you're not playing 7 of the same opponent. That would be the only way you could really build a uniform strategy. Or, if you had some like ability to see the cards or, work the hand backwards and play perfectly as if you were a solver. Sure. But regarding that timeline anyway, the real focus, and much like the HCL thing when that broke down, the real emphasis that we tried to put on the whole thing was the stream security and the lack thereof. And this was really when the dam broke for the first time about how poor the stream was actually set up. Joey was doing his investigation. He was doing deep dives into the hands themselves and all this other stuff. But like, we put a hyper focus on how this could have happened based off of the system that they had set up. And I think there's a lot of revisionist history here where people are claiming like that, the stream was secure. They had done everything above board. There was no access. There was no way Postle could have done this without inside help, blah, 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 blah. And the fact of the matter is, it's like all of that was proven false 6 years ago. And there is no counter proof now to say otherwise. Like, we demonstrated, and a lot of these things led to patches in the actual GFX that Andrew Milner runs. He fixed a lot of these things based off of the Postle thing, demonstrating weaknesses in the system. At the time, in 2018, 2017, whatever, he wasn't building it as a commercial product. It was built as something like, if you want an RFID table in your house for you and your buddies to like run a stream game so that you can, have a good time, like, here's our product, that kind of thing. And it just so happened that some commercial streams went out and bought it. So, at the time there was a backdoor where you could run in, I'm going to get this wrong, but we did a video on it. You can check it out on the channel here. I demonstrated the whole thing. Basically, you could run in like duplicate mode or something along those lines. It was literally just checking a box. And what it would do is it would output the graphics to a secure website or an HTML site, basically. And, with a password, you would be capable of viewing that as a third party. And that was the suspicion that we had, because like we could see there's still photos of Postle like looking at his crotch or whatever, and it's like a blue screen. And the way the graphics are output, they're output on a gamma screen, where whether you're doing a green screen, a blue screen, whatever, they're just laid over that, So it's like basically you take the background away and you're left with the graphic cards. So it was thought that maybe that was how it was done. But beyond that, there was full access to the server room. The server room was backed. It was right behind the commentary booth, and it just had two-way traffic flowing through it, like as if it was a cafeteria. Players would go back there to see hands that had previously been played. They would go back there and intermingle with the staff. Jamin Burton has a video of him touring the server room after hours because he left his book bag in there. Basically, like, he showed up with a book bag full of cash and was like, where's the safe place I can put this? And they were like, in the server room. So he sticks it in the server room, and now it's midnight and there's nobody working, nobody managing anymore. He's like, hey, my book bag's in there. They're like, yeah, it's open. Go nuts. So he just walks in, grab anybody could have put a Trojan on these computers or done whatever the fuck they wanted to do.
Yep.
Basically, there was zero security. And they would harp on the fact of like, well, we were hardwired. We weren't just using Wi-Fi. It's like, who cares, man? Like, who cares? And they did the whole smoke screen of like, you weren't allowed to be on your phone in a hand. And eventually they took phones away, but somehow Postle still had his in his lap, kind of stuff. Whole point is, this is a long rehashing of what happened. Just to say, like, in 6 years, no one from the Postle side has provided any counterexamples of how he didn't cheat. And I get that we live in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty, but there's enough circumstantial evidence to at least give us a high suspicion that he very likely cheated. There's almost no counter evidence. Like, almost nothing was presented back to us. Why you guys got that smirk on your face? What's happening over there?
I wasn't smirking. To my guapo.
Yeah, well, later, Burke. Later.
Steve was just sharing a moment. I'm not happy about it.
Allegedly smirking.
No, it's a full blown. Look at him. He's
I wasn't
chuckling.
even smirking. He's smirking at his goddamn self. It's either he's reading the chat or
I'm definitely reading the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Postle asked if he can call in. That's why.
It's just not. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Wait, is it actually Postle?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm sure it is.
Anyway.
I'm kind of open to it.
Oh, no. God.
I'm kind of open to it. But here's why I'm not. He's done a lot of Twitter Spaces. He's done Joey's podcast. He's done a bunch of stuff, and he always says the same shit. More stuff's gonna come out. It's been 6 years, man. It's been 6 fucking years. You've had all the hands for 6 years. Like, when is more stuff going to come out? Where are the counterexamples of where you make a river decision incorrectly for a 3K pot?
I mean, at this point, who gives a fuck?
Is that the stuff? Is that the stuff? Counterexamples to?
I would say that would be a good counterexample. Show me a river decision that he made incorrectly for a substantial pot.
No, that's fair. I'm saying, what stuff is he referring to?
Who knows, man? He just says stuff. It's literally in our chat. There's a lot more that will be coming out.
Should I open up the Zoom?
I don't know. Well, let's just sit on it for a minute.
All right.
Maybe we'll flip a coin.
Okay, so to address the Andre stuff.
Yeah, this is news to me. I didn't.
So I'm not certain. I don't actually even want to speak about that kind of stuff. I don't know if Andre had any consulting with Stones or not whenever they were setting up their live stream. But the thing that's being conflated is at the time when we were dissecting Poker GFX, as well as like the overall setup of how Stones was laid out and stuff, Andre was very tech savvy with how the inner workings of the system worked. And this was also true with the HCL when we broke down their security. So it's like, at the time, we had been running Poker GFX for years. Andre had been running it for years for Run It Up. I almost said Run It Up Reno, but for Run It Up, yeah. Run It Up Studios. And we just collabed to basically do a demonstration on the myriad of ways that this stream could have been cheated. And those are the videos that you'll find in those early vlogcasts, as well as I think we have a standalone video. We might have a couple of them. One of them's called We Got 'Em, with John Oliver on the cover. And the other one has like just Postle's face on it, I think.
And the comment on the Andre did their IT. He didn't do their IT.
No.
Andre never lived in Sacramento.
Right.
He never fucking traveled to Sacramento to continuously do this every week.
The only thing I'm not certain of,
if he set it up or not.
Well, he may have been a consultant at one point in time.
Yeah. That
I'm not sure of, but that doesn't mean shit to me.
None of it matters.
Right.
It's just like whatever.
How they ran their operation has nothing to do with, it would be like blaming Andrew Milner for creating the software because he's a consultant on the software. It's like,
of course,
or the hardware rather. It's like, who gives a shit? This is all relatively meaningless.
Stop talking about my little black-footed friend. All right? What's wrong with y'all?
We should nickname him Blackfoot. I like that.
I mean, he's always got black feet.
He does always have black feet.
My man's never put a pair of socks on in his life.
That might be actually true.
It is very funny, like, to kind of have that, culture of always taking your shoes off when you're in the house, but then having dirty ass feet. It's like, why don't you keep your shoes on?
I don't know. I'm leaving that one alone.
It can't be worse than your fucking charred feet. I'm saying all of this. I know I'm doing the most of the talking because you guys don't give a shit. But look, man, Postle's name gets clicked. We're fucking here. All right, we're going to talk about it.
Talk about it.
I'm saying all this because I don't understand Veronica's reasoning for rehashing this.
Okay.
Other than, I guess, to like be a part of the conversation again. And I don't understand Caritas and Postle.
Say how you really feel, Berkey.
Fuck do I care, man? Way too old to be mincing words here.
No, I appreciate you and your candor.
And I don't understand. Well, I mean, I guess I understand why Postle and Caritas take this as an opportunity to get vocal again, because it's like, obviously the story is there's a lot of creative license being taken here. It's Veronica's tale, right? So you're not getting stone facts when you're watching God Mode. You're getting it through the lens of the whistleblower. And that's fine. You're free to do that. So it makes sense that Caritis and Postle climb out from whatever fucking rock they've been under for the last 6 years, and they pipe up. But
especially if she got something wrong, because like that is like
they cling to the smallest of details that
it's
mean
like,
nothing.
Wait, guys, this was wrong. So everything else has to be wrong,
right.
you know?
Right.
Something along those lines. But go on, sorry.
Right, no, you're right. But there are a few things that I want to address because they keep getting drudged back up. So number one, Galfond keeps getting dragged through the mud because in 2020 we had discussed, actually it might have even been slightly earlier. It might have been like early or late 2019, but whatever. It was right around when this was all going on. He and I had discussed scraping all the hands from the stream and then taking that data and running it through like PT4 to sort for like river decisions, blue line, red line, you know, whatever. More in depth than that, obviously, but basically doing data analysis on all the hands that were played. At the time, I had a student who was an engineer, and he had developed a pretty rough, data scraper or screen scraper rather that could go through. The difficulties that we continually ran into were that the graphics weren't consistent stream over stream. So he had to keep tweaking this scraper over and over and over again in order to try to adhere to the Halloween theme that they were running that day or whatever. You know, the colors changed, the cards changed, all this shit kept changing. So it took a solid year and a half maybe before we were able to finally nail down a database of something close to all the hands played. Now from there, I think if I recall correctly, we were at like 95% efficiency. So you could expect about 5% error rate throughout the course of these hands. But an error in a hand would lead to like something pretty egregious on the data side, like missing a straddle or something like that. So then we tried to assemble a team. Now this is like much later, like 2021, 2022 maybe. We tried to assemble a team to go through and basically look at each hand individually for errors. And that process just ultimately stalled. We tried to partner up with Poker News and Chad Holloway in order to give them the first scoop and say, like, if you guys can throw some manpower behind this, we'll let you run with the story first, and then we'll do the data analysis after the fact. And again, it just like stalled. Something would always come up. The World Series would be going on. The team would be too slim, whatever the case may be. So effectively, we just got to a point where no one cared anymore. It's like we're years into this. Nobody's provided any counterexamples of how he could possibly be innocent. Sure, we could keep going forward with this. And, you know, I think it was like something like 6,500 hands or 8,000 hands or whatever. But even if we're able to demonstrate through very obvious data metrics that, you know, this graph is somewhat accurate and this guy made more perfect decisions than a guy who was super using, even if we were able to demonstrate that, it's still going to fall under the umbrella of the sample's too small, the data is inconsistent or isn't perfect. You know, no matter what we do, there's always going to be some error rate.
Well, also, I think there's the question of who are you trying to convince at this point? Because I think that almost everyone's mind is already set based on what they've already seen.
Yeah.
And then the court case was probably over at this point.
Way over.
So I don't, I mean, it's like, it's like, sure, you're going to provide more clarity through like actual data rather than people sifting through a number of hands and making their own decisions. But you're probably going to get the same people to arrive at the same decision. And the people who had decided the other way, I think were pretty locked in as well.
Yeah, I think what happened...
You mean Postle and JFK?
Yeah,
those are only two people that were the other way.
They absolutely have a large contingent of support.
Really?
There were like a number of people who had supported
them
Twitter.
for years.
I mean, that's...
you know, it's like there are a lot of locals who think that he didn't cheat. There's a large number. I don't know like how often he's out there, you know, talking. Mm-hmm. I don't really tune into this shit, but like people show up when he does, you know, like I think it was the Joey pod that he did where he was just largely incoherent the whole time.
Mm-hmm. RFK or Postle you're talking about?
Postle.
Oh.
RFK went missing.
JFK.
Sorry, JFK.
He just pops up like once every 4 years. Like he went on a Twitter tirade, I think it was like late 2020, maybe early 2021, just like out of the blue, just for like 3 days. Must not have been sleeping or something. Just like calling out everybody, and then just vanished into the woods again. You know, and it's like every time that happens, every time it resurfaces like that, we then start to hear from Postle again, but he never fucking says anything. He just never says anything. Like that Ingram interview was so long. Or no, it was a Mattisau interview. That's right. He did it with Mattisau. I keep saying Ingram, but it was Mattisau.
Oh, I forgot.
He sat down and did a one-on-one. He just never said anything. He just never said. He would like beg the question of like, why would I cheat? It's like, I don't know, to fucking win hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 1-3 game.
Yeah, that's a very silly defense.
Yeah, and obviously I'm being very dismissive by calling it a 1-3 game. Okay, so like a 1-3-6 game, maybe a 1-3-6-12 game. Like no matter what you adjust for blinds wise, it was an obscene amount of money in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And you know, it's right to be questioned, and I just think if I were in his shoes, I would be handling it way fucking differently. I'd be pointing to like all the egregious errors that I made rather than calling myself God.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very simple logic that I apply to a lot of charlatans in poker and different people, but can be applied here as well. If you're this good, why have I never seen you playing big games in Vegas or heard about you smashing other casinos or beating big games online? Or I mean, maybe you're claiming it's all live reads, so like big games anywhere else, it doesn't make any sense. It's like there's a number of charlatans who talk about how they're one of the best MTT players on the planet, and then you go look at their stats online, they're Hendon Mob and they haven't done anything in 8 years. And,
I think people ask that question all the time, and it's just the issue is that people who want to believe he's innocent will obviously believe the low-hanging fruit to explain that stuff away. Well, he knew the pool. He has good live reads. You know what I mean? There's always enough magic.
Yeah, but even if you have good live reads, like there's much bigger games elsewhere with small player pools.
The most insane thing is that anybody on earth could believe Mike Postle's a good poker player. Like, that's the if you want to say he didn't cheat.
What do you mean? He made every correct river decision. Of course he's a good poker player.
Right. Like that's the I mean, that's truly, if we want to go down a different path with this conversation, like if that doesn't dictate that poker is alive and well and will always just, the dream will always be there, I don't know what else could, because we are at a time in 2025 where we know what good poker looks like. It's not questionable any longer.
Yeah, it doesn't look like this.
Well, I mean, technically it does.
No, I mean, look at that. That's so wild. I think anybody who just understands basic mathematics or just anything can look at this and just go, okay, clearly something is not correct here.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, he didn't VPIP as much as Pot Ripper, so he was at least a little bit smarter. Also, I mean, this is a little bit misleading because, like, I think Pot Ripper was also playing like a lot of tournaments and not exclusively cash. But yeah, like, you know,
I mean, this is the closest thing to video evidence, right?
No.
Really?
Not even remotely close. This isn't adjusted for straddles or big blind. This is a very unfair graph.
Okay.
I think this graph is relevant, but it's very exaggerated. Like, Postle is not going to be to the right of Pot Ripper when all things are adjusted. He's going to be far to the right of that blue cluster, though. And I think these details, like emphasizing exaggerations like that, only give the Postle side more fuel. Because
wow, see, I was looking at it from the other angle. Like, how do you explain this sort of thing?
You just say it's wrong, and it is. You just say it's wrong, and it is. Like, there's no arguing that. That graph is misrepresenting the actual data, period. And that's just factual, so Postle can run with that. Because it's done in bad faith, and it's not good data work. But good data work would actually demonstrate the point. Postle would be a 3 standard deviation outlier to that graph, for sure, without question. It's just he's not going to be winning 1,000 big blinds per 100, which is, you know, what makes that such a bad example and why they cling to it and say, like, that graph, you know, Doug Polk put that in a video. He's an idiot. It's like, yeah, I mean, it was a sloppy graph. We just took the first run through the hands and we just rolled with it. But that doesn't make it less likely that he cheated. You know, you can't get to that graph without something being statistically awry, right? Like, okay, so he didn't win 1,000 big blinds per 100, but like when all things are adjusted, he's probably winning 100 big blinds per 100.
So where there's
that's
smoke.
still pretty fucking insane, you know?
Can we get to the real important part of this whole story?
Go ahead.
What's going on between you and Veronica?
What do you mean?
You guys seem to have this love-hate thing, kind of swings back and forth. I feel like there's something bubbling up under the surface.
No, so, I can very, very easily address this one. Veronica and I became friends in a very weird way. She made a meme about me that made her poker relevant, and I accepted
Can we see
it.
this meme or what? I gotta know the backstory. I'm intrigued now.
It was a screenshot of me and Garrett playing the
I remember
the first $1 million cash game on Live at the Bike.
That was your guys' first interaction? I thought that was well into your...
Her and I didn't know each other before that.
Okay.
And she photoshopped it such that my right arm suddenly became like decrepit and small. But she said, what I think I look like when I'm playing poker, which is a picture of, you know, Garrett looking gorgeous, having the nuts, and then what I actually look like, which was me like bluffing it off with 6 high, which was funny. It was a good meme. It was a good meme. And then shortly thereafter, we probably just started like casually interacting. We had a lot of mutual friends. Poker Mama Casey Mills was doing a lot of the commentary up there with her at different times. So like we had mutuals, we would interact here and there. And eventually, I don't remember if it was Casey or Veronica that invited me to that game. But it doesn't really matter. At that point, I'd probably known both of them for like the better part of a year. Maybe I actually didn't know Casey that well yet. But anyway, I'd known Veronica for like a year. So the game happens. You know, like Chin, I was a little bit annoyed that we got basically set up. Like, oh, you think this guy's cheating and you're just going to have us come play high stakes with him? That's kind of fucked. But, you know, when I realized like why and everything else, and the fact that I didn't get hurt in the game, I lost like 2K, it was a little bit more forgivable. The whole Postle thing happens. We're pretty friendly throughout that. We were pretty friendly for basically till Jack 4 happened. So prior to Jack 4, Vertucci started his podcast. Apologies, I'm wrong on the timeline. Post Jack 4, Vertucci started the podcast. And Veronica reached out to me and said, like, you know, Vertucci wants me to co-host this podcast. What do you think? I said, I think it's a death sentence. Like, I don't know why you would want to do this. He is a full-blown narcissist who has no idea, like, about the world around him. I heard he's a complete creep. I heard stories about him, you know, I don't want to name names, but, like, with young girls, with, like, basically every girl that gets put onto the show basically gets propositioned in some sort of way, shape, or form. I've just heard, like, endless stories.
There it is. That's the ostrich we need.
It's an emu. Allegedly.
Damn it.
I think he's right. I think it's an emu.
Allegedly.
Damn it. This should be something I get right. Out of all the things we talk about on here, I should be able to differentiate.
So I basically just said, you know, I've heard a million reasons why you shouldn't do this podcast, and I'm not sure you can give me a single one that would indicate you should. And she's like, well, to be quite honest, I think it's important I stay relevant in the community, and this will help. And it's like, okay, I don't think that's a good reason, but like, you do you, I'll support it. So for the first, I don't know, 5 episodes or so, she was kind of like a friend in enemy land. And while I was still harping on the HCL security and beating that drum, she was kind of defending me, as Nick would bring every single guest on and say, like, why is Matt Berkey a fucking asshole? Tell me in my words now, you know? And she would kind of defend a little bit. But at some point, she started to get really liberal with just taking shots at me. And it got to a point where, like, it bubbled over, and I was texting with her, like, you know, what the fuck is going on here kind of thing. And we just had, like, this big blowout falling out via text, where it was just like, I don't know at what point the line got blurred between, like, you know, us being friends and you and Nick being coworkers, but it's very clear that Nick has indoctrinated you at this point. Like, you guys are buddy, and, like, I'm the enemy now, so, like, I just don't ever want to speak to you again. And it was that way for years until all the Vertucci shit dropped. And at that point, we kind of apologized to one another, buried the hatchet, and moved forward. But it was, I'm not a fan of, I'm at the end of the day, I'm not a fan of the way she carries herself in like poker Twitter land or whatever. And I'm sure she would say the same about me, like, for whatever reason. So it's like, as a person, I have a lot of respect for her. I think she's brilliant in a lot of ways, but as a personality, like a public persona or whatever, not a fan.
Fair enough. That story was way less romantic than I was hoping for.
Sorry, buddy.
I felt the vibes of some public flirting going on through Twitter at one point, and I thought, no, all right, I'm way off here.
I think I'm just very sarcastic, and at times it can come off that way. Maybe.
I didn't necessarily meant that you were doing the flirting, but
well, after what she had done to my right arm, maybe that was enough. I don't know. That was the thing.
Implying that you're a lefty? Is that what's going on?
I am a lefty, but
there we go.
That was the thing I was most tilted about in the meme. I was like, why did you just like completely like cripple my right arm?
That's a very Berkey thing for that to be the thing.
It was so asymmetrical. It's like, okay, you want to say I play bad poker? I don't care, but like,
don't fuck with my arms.
I've worked hard on these things, man. Fuck.
Leave my arms alone.
Leave my arms alone. God damn. I don't have much more to say about this, I guess.
All right. Well, I have the Zoom link open and Mike's here, so I'm just gonna patch him in. Here we go.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm joking.
Berkey,
it's a late April Fool's.
Are you serious? Come on.
He's definitely not here.
I just went off on Postle in the chat. He's like, more info is coming. Like, dude, nobody gives a fuck. You might as well just tell everybody you cheated, allegedly.
Yeah, if the more info that's coming is him admitting that he cheated, I am here for it. We can break that story. I would love to do it.
I just feel like 3 or 4 years ago, it seemed like the only person he would talk to is Mattisau, and now you have like this access where you'll ask really hard-hitting questions comparatively.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to see that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, why not talk to the guy?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm bored.
I mean, you guys could do it like tomorrow. I'm not saying to do it right now, but
if it happens, it's gotta be.
I don't even know if we're gonna have a show tomorrow. I'll tell you what.
Should I fire it up?
Well, yeah, you can fire it up.
Okay.
We have to find a way to give it to him.
I'll send it to his.
I'll DM him.
Okay.
I hope he somehow slips a Trojan into your computers.
I don't even know how that could be possible, but
he'll find the way.
Oh my God, I just opened our DM and there's just like a fucking book sent to me. Hold on. All right, you guys are gonna get what you want. We're gonna get Postle in here.
Go.
I'm putting them on the clock though. This is we have a hard out at 1:40, so 20 minutes. I can't do this. I can't do this back and forth for hours on end. I have a couple questions. I'm sure Jesse has a couple questions. We can.
I'm letting you lead. Postle, you gotta front load your best stuff.
Yeah, you gotta come with it.
We don't have that much time, and I'm excited to hear it.
Right, whatever's coming soon, drop it now, buddy, because I don't got the patience for this shit.
Also, might be your last chance to ever speak.
No, what are you talking about? People run these spaces all the fucking time.
Mm.
Did he do some spaces? I just remember it was very hard to get access to him during the height of everything, which is probably a smart way to go about it on his part, regardless of what you think of the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I haven't heard him or JFK really speak much. I know that they do these spaces from time to time, but like I don't really pay attention to it. And I'm sure that there's a small cultic following of people who like want him to be innocent so desperately, and they tune in. And I'm sure that there are others who like hate listen, because it's still an interesting thing. It's kind of like our OJ.
I mean, it's kind of just like a form of entertainment for a lot of people.
Like our OJ.
Yeah, he's kind of like our OJ. Like we know
what a sentence.
We know what happened, but like he's just out on the loose.
Jesus.
R.I.P. OJ.
R.I.P. My God. So, are you calling in, Postle?
Did you guys ever see the Norm Macdonald bit where he talked about OJ on the fly?
Elaborate. I'm sure I did.
So basically, he's like doing some stand up, and somebody in the audience is like, "What do you think about OJ?" This is years after. This is when OJ went to jail.
The second or
the first,
for
robbing the. And his whole take was, in jail they have this pecking order, and at the top are like the murderers and stuff, and at the very bottom are the people who get abused and stuff in jail. He's like and they do like the heinous crimes. He's like, I don't know where stealing your own shirt is on that ladder. He's like, but I imagine you're down at the bottom area. He's like, so he's getting abused in jail, and he's like, no, I'm a murderer. And they're like, no, we watched the court case, man. If the glove don't fit. It was a really good bit, and I'm probably butchering it, but
I mean, R.I.P. Norm. No one's gonna get that one perfect, but I do appreciate the reference.
Yeah, nobody can reproduce the way Norm delivered a joke.
All right, I sent the Zoom link to Postle on DM on Twitter. I assume that's still his account. We'll see if he gets to it. Time's ticking, man. Hard out.
17 minutes.
1:45 at most.
21 minutes.
I gotta check and see if I got a seat also, because that will get us out of here a lot sooner.
Are they starting the game later these days?
No, I get first up.
Oh, okay.
Stepchild.
If the game's good, I'm not in it.
How long do they give you to get down there? Just
as long as I need.
Yeah.
They want my action.
So what happens if you started the podcast, you're 20 minutes in, and they give you a text? Do you just leave early?
I would say,
put the next guy in and give me the next spot.
Well, I would just tell them the situation. I'd be like, I need 45 minutes to finish the pod. Do you want to wait an hour? Or give up my seat.
It's very accommodating. I like that aspect of private games. I remember the first time I played in PokerGo Studio, one of those 10Ks.
Yeah.
We got down to like 2 or 3 tables left, and we went on break, and I was talking to Foxen, and I realized that break was probably over, and I was like, I think we were like 2 tables left, and he was like, I said something like, oh shit, we got to get back in there. We're probably missing hands. And Foxen just goes, oh, it's 2 tables left. They'll wait for us. Wow, that's so sick that they have that going on.
That's actually pretty wild.
Yeah. He's like, they're not going to just start the tournament with the 2 of us gone. That would be very rude.
Speaking of Foxen, while we're on that subject, shout out to the Fox man who won the PLO yesterday for 330-ish.
He's been mashing these PLO tournaments.
Has he?
I always see him at the final table.
I mean, this is his first win in 800 days.
But
800?
If you go watch these PLO
at least
FTs, he's there a lot.
At least at the whatchamacallit, at the.
Didn't he do something at Triton recently?
No, I'm talking about at this
at Go?
PokerGo Studio.
800 days? That's over 3 years. That's around 3 years.
That's what the tweet said, I believe.
Sorry, it's like 2.5 years.
Well,
yeah, I guess it could be that long.
To be fair to him, he won like $4.5 million in a poker tournament last month or something absurd.
That's strong.
He also won the 250K at the World Series a year or 2 ago.
Did he?
The one where Brewer made that big comeback?
That was like 3 years ago, maybe 4.
No, it was the one with Martin Cabral at the final table.
No, Brewer won that one.
Oh, he did win that one.
Yeah.
That was the year before that then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was 3 years ago.
Foxen's a beast, man. He's an absolute beast.
That he is.
I guess.
One of my favorite stories about Foxen was remember that fake shooting that like
that everybody went freaked out and started tipping over tables and stuff.
Yeah, and there was actually nothing that happened that caused it. It was like a human panic reaction in a group setting. Everyone's running out of this casino assuming that there was a shooter and like running each other over. And my friend, as he's running out, sees Foxen running into the casino against the crowd. And later on, he was like, dude, what were you doing? And he was like, Chrissy was in there. Like I was going to get her. That was a moment where I was like, dude, I will forever.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
It's a dope one.
Forever just, respect this man to the full letter of the law.
I remember that day. I was literally just busted the tournament, and I'm walking inside the parking garage, and there's a cop car sitting right there, and all I see is a flow of people running out the door. And the cops are just looking like, what the fuck is going on right now? Just completely flabbergasted.
Yeah.
So many people are just running out this fucking door into the parking lot. And like, what is happening? They literally sat in their car and didn't move. But
I think we still don't know what happened. I heard that somebody was setting off fireworks in a parking garage. I heard that somebody was throwing rocks.
Yeah,
I
like
thought
glass.
it was a rock through like a door or a window.
Yeah, something like that.
At MGM.
Maybe it was multiple things, and that's why, because this spread across 3 or 4 casinos.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it was, but it was a pretty interesting day.
My friend said it was terrifying. He watched people get trampled in the hallways and pretty beat up.
I remember seeing a similar Foxen moment where he was at the PokerGo studio, and he was doing his trademark stare. And he's just staring at this guy, and he's a little guy, and he told Foxen, he's like, "Hey, bro, you need to like stop staring at me." And Alex just kind of looked at him and said, "Or what?" It was good. It was really good.
See, I always fought that with love, and it always worked out for me. I always give Fox like a little smile or like blow him a kiss, and he kind of smiles back at me, and then he still stares at me, but it's in a much less daunting sort of way.
Intense manner.
Yeah, there's like this mutual happy respect sort of thing for each other as a human. I don't know if he respects me as a poker player or not. I assume he does, but you never know.
Quite the bold assumption there, Jesse. Look at you just out there thinking that you're all hot shit.
Well, I mean, respect is a spectrum,
right?
So you can respect me a little
We're all
bit.
on it. That's for sure.
I don't
looking
think good. Huh,
yeah,
Berk?
I don't think this guy's calling in, man.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty full of shit.
Come on, Postle, don't let me down, man. I rallied for you.
Somebody tweeted at me and said, "It sounds like you didn't listen to what JFK had to say." It's like, obviously, you think we were fucking. You don't think we have something better to do with our time on a weekend or on a weeknight than listen to an 8-hour-long space of a guy who probably fucking cheated?
Yeah, Berkey was working on that right arm.
Yeah, goddamn right.
You know, Berkey was just going so much harder on that arm in the gym ever since that. He's just in the gym just doing one.
I'll show you.
I just wanted to know if it was intentional or not. Like, you know, was it like I'm going to really get his goat. I'm going to make that right arm a little smaller. Was it just like, you know, a mix up with the Photoshop?
It was intentional.
What do you mean a mix up with the You can't just by a mistake make an arm smaller.
Yeah, of course you can. Like, you're just cropping and skewing and changing dimensions and shit like that. Some things take a hit, you know?
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, if you're bad
everything
if you're like
moves
bad
at the
Photoshop,
same.
You've never made things skinnier and wider and taller. Do you fuck with Photoshop much?
Yeah, but it all kind of moves at the same ratio.
It can. It doesn't have to. Depends like what you're using.
Well,
there's like stretch, skew.
It would be quite a coincidence if the whole arm was smaller, but nothing else.
That's true.
Shrank at a different.
That is true.
I don't know. I appreciate you giving Veronica the benefit of the doubt there, though. I feel like that you guys are really coming back around.
It was the only way we make it this far.
This has been a great day.
Yep, great day. All right, that sounds like the outro music.
We're out of here.
I mean, you know.
Seems like this guy is... You know, he disappeared from the chat, too. Shocker.
Grappo's over this shit.
You guys have to make the title, by the way. Postle calls in. And then everybody gets rugged when they watch the video.
Don't worry. More info's coming. So for all 25 of you out there that think Postle's innocent, he had his chance to get on here and state his claim, as he begged for in the chat, and then chose not to. I don't know what else to tell you guys.
Good game.
That's just... It's very uninteresting to me, to be quite honest. I hope this is the last we talk about it. That's going to do it for us today. High likelihood we're back here tomorrow, but there's a small chance we're not, depending if I have a starting seat or not. If you guys haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about the Postle situation. Did he do it? You tell us. We'll see you guys all noon Pacific tomorrow.
Later, squad.
Peace.